Hi everyone, it's Carol Clark here, and when Leslie from HealthWise asked me to present on how to use Zoom in your practice for webinars, and I had to add the and much more, I couldn't have been more excited. I really love working with her, and I am excited to bring this to you today. As I mentioned, I'm Carol Clark. I'm the CEO of Weight Loss Practice Builder and also the person who leads a Bariatric Business Boss, which is the exclusive online community for busy practitioners who have surgical and non-surgical weight loss practices. We talk everything business, how to build your business, add revenue streams, streamline things, do everything related to social media, all sorts of things with trainings every single week. If you don't know much about it, check it out, bariatricbusinessboss.com. But what we're here for today is to learn about how to use Zoom in your practice. And I want to thank Leslie and HealthWise for bringing this to you. And let's get going, because I really am going to try to keep it to 30 minutes. Can't make all promises, but that's what my goal is. And I want you to have fun with this presentation and with your use of Zoom while increasing your reach and your profits. So our learning objectives for today are, there's a number of them. First is to briefly review some software options for patient educational webinars that are out there, and also to identify some ways that Zoom conferencing software can benefit you, your practice, and your current as well as prospective patients as a marketing tool. Then to discuss potential Zoom application for telehealth and include a live demo so you can see how to set your account up and how to use it for meetings, small and large, as well as some one-on-one appointments. So we're going to get to that. And then finally discuss best practices so that you can have optimal success. So I really want you to learn to love creating webinars for many different reasons. And a lot of people have an aversion to this. They just don't feel like they're good on camera, or they don't like the sound of their voice. I mean, I'm the same way. But it's so much fun, and I want you to learn to love it. If it's simple, it'll get done. And if it's simple, it'll let you explore a bit more and learn to love it, I do believe. And we're so glad you're here, so welcome. Statistically speaking, really about 55, here in our practice, 55% of our new patients arrive via a webinar. So these are people who find us all over the internet, and at all times of the day or night, they find our webinars and they view them, and there's a clear call to action as to what to do next. They learn all about us and our services, and with all the content we have out there, it's almost as if they know us before they come in. By the time they walk through your door, they almost know exactly what it is that they want to purchase, whether it's services or products. So it's a really powerful way to get out there, especially in light of what's going on. As at the time of this recording, we're in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, and it has really been stifling for all practices, ours included. But I have to say, having a lot of online resources, programs, and e-stores, all that sort of stuff has really been beneficial. So I use this time to help people develop that. But the retails, particularly products like HealthWise products, they should still be flying off your shelves if you have a way for people to gain access to that. So anyhow, that's a little bit of a digression, but you can get so many patients just by having a very effective webinar out there on the internet, on your website particularly, and also on other sites such as YouTube, Facebook, and that sort of thing. And by 2024, really only 25% of meetings will take place in person, which is down from 60% right now. Now that's related mostly to business meetings, but the reality is we're all doing telehealth, and patients, I don't know about your patients, but a lot of mine are really liking it, and they're going to want to continue that. So that's going to be something that's going to be a very stronghold for the future. Desktops for webinars particularly are preferred by 93% of those participants. Now, if it's your telehealth and that sort of thing, oftentimes people like to use their iPad or their phone or whatnot. 24% of all webinar registrations are on Tuesdays. People like to register, I guess, Tuesdays a day when they're checking things out. And 33% of registrations occur the day before the webinar because people are procrastinators. So you have to put it out there more than once. You can't put it out there once and think people are going to be there. Now, I'm talking about webinars where people truly have to register because it's almost like an event. If you have evergreen webinars, that's a different story. But if you're having something specific like what we're doing today, most people might have registered last Tuesday when this was announced, and a lot of people probably registered yesterday, and actually, if you continue to promote it, a lot of people sign up the day of. Some people want to wait and see how their day's progressing before they sign up for something. The best days and times on the internet I could find, or on research from GoToWebinar and lots of other sources, are Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 or 11. We're having ours at noon today, but it varies by industry and location. So you do need to know, depending on your time zone, if you're on the East Coast and most of your clients are on the West Coast, which isn't the case for practices, but I have for weight loss practices, but I do have a lot of clients out on the other course, so I have to watch when I'm doing things. So, but it varies by industry and by location. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Webinar, I know I don't mean to insult your intelligence. It's really just a being on the web and having a seminar and putting the two together creates your webinar. So it's particularly for bariatric surgery practices. We've had a webinar online. Like I say, 55% of our patients come in through the web, but we've had that for years. And if you don't have one on your website, you really should get one out there. It can make a huge difference. It can be a game changer. And it's a great thing that people are doing now, especially as they're trying to pivot more of their practice online. Presentation is hosted online using webinar software. That's what we're talking about today. And before you create anything, always know your why you are offering a webinar, and have a thought out plan for success. You really need, it's not going to be successful just to create one and put it out there once. You've got to know who your audience is. You've got to touch on their pain points. What is it that they really need the most right now? You've got to be willing to serve with an open heart and an open mind and all of your intelligence, sharing that with people, and really in your heart wanting to help them. Like, I'm wanting to help people understand all different software, but Zoom in particular for today. So you want to know your why, because that's going to drive how you create it, what you title it, what you're going to have in the contents of it, and all that. The purpose of webinars basically can be used for education. It can be a great way to capture new leads and use it for marketing, where you gather new leads through a webinar that you offer, or it might be a video that you offer, or some sort of educational resource that is in a video format. It positions yourself as the expert. And it's a great way to engage your patients, particularly with Zoom. You can see them if you're doing support groups. We just did one recently. We actually did it as a Facebook Live, but on Zoom, you can actually do it where you're seeing everyone. It's really pretty exciting. And you can promote new products and services, because we always are, kind of coming up with something new. We listen to our patients and we respond with what it is that can best serve them, as long as we know it's a sound and healthy and safe something to provide for them, be it a product or a service. Your software considerations when you're choosing your platform really is ease of use for you and your participant, making sure that it is accessible on a mobile device, that you can share your screen, specifically if you're going to be using slides, that you can have a text chat there. That's always very helpful. That you have the ability to record. I do everything, all my recordings through this podcast, educational things, anything from my membership sites, whether it's my Weight Loss Academy, or Back on Track After Weight Loss Surgery, or Weight Management University for weight loss surgery, anything, bariatric business spots. We do all of our recordings through Zoom. You want to make sure that there's privacy, particularly if you're using it for any telehealth, that you can have surveys and polls. I don't do those very often, but it's nice to have that if that's something you're interested in, and making sure that there's a little bit of a marketing portion to it. So it does have a way to email people reminders, and it has a way to automate them signing up for the webinar, or for your product, or whatever it is that you're offering. The highest rated platforms, after doing a lot of research, is and I've used most of these, not all of them. GoToWebinar is used a lot for larger corporations, and it's an easy one to use, and you're able to share your slides. It can do everything, very effectively, and it's been around for a long time, so it's very consistent. Adobe Connect is used a lot by educators, particularly in the school systems. I've not used Zoho Meeting, but it did have high ratings. It's something if you want to research. Zoom, I'm talking about today, I've used it for years and years. Like I say, I do weekly mastermind meetings, I do membership things, webinars, all sorts of things on Zoom. Cisco WebEx is something that might already have been built into people's sort of game plan, is particularly for really large organizations. Webinar Jam is more for smaller organizations. I find it, I've used Webinar Jam. We've used it for years. And then I found Zoom. And so some people in our organization like Webinar Jam better. I particularly like Zoom, but most of us are transferring over. If you want to get a really thorough comparison, I have a website there for you that you can go to that actually does a great comparison based on the size of your organization, how many users you're going to have, have, and it's a great way to see all the different options. But those are the highest rated. When I went to a number of sites and did research, those were the ones that I found highest rated from a user perspective and from a ability to be, reliable. Why I love using Zoom, I've mentioned a little bit. I find it to be very easy to use. I can make recordings on the fly easily. I can do that on my cell phone as well. I have lots of trainings out there on how to do it on your cell phone as well. But this way I get an audio file, I get a video file, I can split those off, I can repurpose my materials, be it whether it's educational. It's just an easy way for me to create things, easy way to have meetings with clients, to be able to see each other face to face, to share our screens, and to get connected very, very easily, whether it's for business or for personal. It's very, very easy. Anyone in my family can use it. My mom's not very computer, but you click on a link and you're in. And so it's very easy to use. So I use it for so many different reasons, and I just find it to be very versatile. It's always very reliable. I've not found where I lose connection or that sort of thing. Usually if that's the case, it's because there is an internet problem. It's not without problems, but I have found it to be very reliable. And what about Facebook Live? Can you do a webinar on Facebook Live? You certainly can, and you can actually integrate Zoom into Facebook Live. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this presentation, but we did a support group last week with Facebook Live. It was very well attended, and it was easy to use. So you can use Facebook Live as well for webinars, and you can actually integrate, or you can do it right there on your Facebook. If you want to share slides, there are applications that you can use that are free to, that you can actually use with it to be able to show slides and have more than one person on there. StreamYard's the one that I use probably the most for those sorts of things, but there's a lot of apps that you can actually share your slides and that sort of thing too. So you can use Facebook Live for webinars, no problem with that. And it'll record it and save it right on your Facebook page. So that is another option for you. So what can Zoom do for you in your practice? It can do, like I say, lots of different things. You can use it for webinars, you can use it for educational seminars, you can use it for visits one-on-one, you can use it for group meetings for you and your team, you can use it for support groups, you can use it just as a way to create videos that you can share on your website, on your YouTube channel, upload into LinkedIn or Facebook. You can do any of those sorts of things. And it's a great way to figure out what is it that your patients want the most. Like right now, people are having a hard time staying motivated to stay on track or to lose weight. If you created a quick video or a presentation about staying motivated and you put that on your Facebook page, added it to your website, put it on your YouTube channel, and then you ask people to share it. I mean, if you didn't want to do any advertising to drive traffic there, I mean, it's so easy. You could have that done literally in no time at all. We use it primarily. The three top reasons are education, marketing, and engagement. So we talked about this a little bit, but you can use it as a webinar, live, or evergreen. If you want to see an evergreen one, we have one on our site, cfwls.com. You'll see them all over the place, or you can do it live, do webinars. I use it for podcasting. If you're not a part of my podcast, Build the Weight Loss Practice of Your Dreams, you might want to check it out and subscribe. Lots of good stuff there. Online educational curriculums that then you can put into a membership site or upload into a membership site that you subscribe to. Lots more information on that if anyone ever wanted. Support groups for telehealth, you can currently use it. It's not HIPAA compliant. The regular Zoom is not HIPAA compliant, but it is being permitted right now as people had pivoted very quickly. They do have a Zoom for healthcare, which is really a great option, but it's about at least $200 a month. So it's pricier than other ones, depending on what you're using or what you've looked at. But it does provide for a patient waiting room, accessibility for all participants. So it has the ability for closed captioning, keyboard shortcuts. It is secure for HIPAA compliance. It integrates seamlessly with Epic if you're on Epic. And it also provides something a little bit different where the patient can access into there, as well as you can have other people join in, family members who might be in other states and that sort of thing. So it does have some great things, and it's very reliable. As I say, it has a very low drop rate, which a lot of us have found with some of the other ones that we've used. So that's a telehealth thing. It is subject to change. At the moment, you can use the regular Zoom, but I think over time, there are going to be requirements for HIPAA compliance. You can use it for staff training. I do staff training for practices using Zoom. It's easy. You can do it yourself. It's something that you want to go over, and lots of different applications for that. Here's some just basic some pricing. You can get a free account very easily. When you go there, I'm going to actually, when I do the demo, show you the page, but you can do some video conferencing, web conferencing. There is a limit to 40 minutes on the free group, so you do want to be cognizant of that depending on how long your meetings are going to go. I have the pro version, and it has everything that I need, and it's been very effective. I haven't had to move to business or enterprise, but it works well for me. It's a matter of looking at what's out there and deciding what's the best price point for you. If you need any additional tutorials, support.zoom.us. There is a plethora of training videos, guides. They're short, easy to watch, and it could be a great adjunct to this particular presentation. So let's get to the live demonstration. Here we go.
Okay, let's get to the demonstration. I'm going to share with you a way to get started very easily, and if you have any trepidation about using Zoom, hopefully that will be out the window because there are so many exciting aspects of it, and I want to keep it simple. So we're going to focus on the most important reasons why you would be using it, because as we all know, what's simple is what gets done. So we're going to go over a few things. The first is how to open up your first account, how to sign up for it, how to use it for things such as doing a webinar, doing any sort of educational training, how to have a meeting with a number of people, a large group versus a small group versus one-on-one. And we're going to do all that in as quick of a time as possible, but let's have some fun with this. So if you don't have an account yet, you can go to zoom.us and you can sign up right here. The easiest way is to go to plans and pricing, and you can take a peek at what is best for you. We kind of went over this a little bit earlier, but if you just want a free account to give it a whirl, just sign up here. You're going to enter your date of birth, and then it's going to ask you to open an account with an email and creation of a password. So it's going to be as simple as that. As I mentioned, I have the pro account, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in there and give you a peek at what I have going on within my account. Passwords are a little long because I like to keep it secure. So in here is my Zoom Pro account. So the first thing to do is to set up your profile, and you can upload a picture of yourself, and when you have that, then if you're on a meeting and you don't have your video on, it can show your picture. Otherwise it'll just show your name. And if you have a pro account, you can actually set up a personal meeting ID, which is really kind of cool because then you can give that personal meeting ID to anyone, and it's easy for them to just join on in. And this is my information for my account where I signed in. I'm a licensed user with up to 100 capacity in terms of people with video, and my time zone, as well as anytime you schedule a meeting, you can easily connect it to your Yahoo, your Google, or your Outlook calendar. So that's basically your profile over the overview of that. In order to schedule meetings versus webinars, meetings can be used just like a webinar. That's what we're doing right here. So for me, I use the meetings feature, and the reason why is because in order to integrate the webinar, whether you wanted to have a large number up to 10,000 attendees and 100 video participants going up that high, you have to purchase an additional portion, which is the webinar portion. And you can actually monetize your webinar. If you were doing a webinar and having people pay for it, you can use Zapier, which is really a super easy integration versus building out APIs and that sort of thing. But you can do the webinar this way. For my purposes, the meetings works just fine. So that's what I have. I haven't added on the whole webinar portion of it. You can record right here in the cloud, which is their cloud, or you can do local recordings. I tend to do mine locally because I do a lot with my videos afterwards. I usually pull them and I'll use them on YouTube, and then I use them on Facebook, and then I'll put some of them are educational trainings that I put inside my Bariatric Business Boss membership site. So I use it in lots of different ways, and sometimes I just pull off the audio versus the video. As I mentioned, I use it for my podcast. So I use it for all sorts of different things. So I tend to keep the recordings on my local computer, but you can record and save it wherever you want. Then there's this overall settings. This is really kind of cool. It talks about your settings for meeting, recording, and for those that are joining via telephone. These are sort of master settings, and you can set your preferences right here. We're not going to have time to go through each one. They make a lot of sense, but but you can go through here. But as I'm going to show you very specifically, when you schedule a meeting, you can actually override these and change it based on every single meeting. Each meeting can have its own settings. Recording, these are again some general overall settings as well as for telephone. So those are some settings that you want to take a look at right when you set up your account, just to see what your major preferences are. But like I say, you can change it for every single type of meeting that you set up. One other thing I want to mention is they have great training right available in once you log in, live training, video tutorials, and knowledge base. It's really very, very helpful. So the next thing I want to get to is how do you use this application for a meeting, whether it's a large group, maybe something you're doing with your patients, maybe it's a small group, you're just using it for your team because you're working remotely right now, or in the future if you want to have a remote meeting. The other thing is you can schedule meetings even for, if I schedule a meeting with a client one-on-one, I'll send them a meeting invite with a link, and then they just log on. We can see each other. We can actually share screens. We can dive deep into their marketing plan or their website or their webinar that they're creating, whatever it is. It's easy to schedule a meeting as well, one-on-one with someone, a patient or a client. The one other thing that I was mentioning, which is different from a telehealth perspective, is in Zoom, you can actually have more than one person, like say, patient wants to be there, but also one of their family members who happens to live in another state or they aren't together. You can actually have more than one person. So let's get right to that. So we're going to go into we're going to go back to meetings. And here you can see I actually have a lot of meetings already scheduled because you can schedule recurring meetings. So for like my membership, we meet every Wednesday at noon for a training, and then we also do individualized things. But let's say you want to set up a webinar. You're going to do a live webinar. You're going to post it on Facebook. You're going to send it out in your emails to all your patients, and you want to highlight something that's going on or even create an evergreen webinar for the services that you offer. So what we're going to do is we're going to schedule a new meeting. And like I say, this could be one for a group. It could be just for individuals. So I'm going to say webinar with Dr. Smith. And that's not very exciting. You do want to make sure that your topic and the title of your meeting, especially if it's for trying to attract people into viewing a webinar, is something more enticing than that. That's a whole different conversation. And then you can put in a whole description here as to your meeting objectives, what you're going to be covering, anything that you think would help entice and explain why the person that you want at this webinar or at this meeting has to be there. So you want to include that there. You can put agendas in there if it's a small group meeting, whatever you'd like. And then you can schedule it whenever you want to schedule it. So let's say we want to schedule it for, we're going to do May 11th. Well, actually, as we were talking about in our statistics, we'll actually schedule this on a popular day, to May 12th at 11 a.m. Remember, 10 and 11 were two of the best times to schedule it. So I can schedule it for however long I want it. If you're in a free account, you can't actually schedule meetings or host them longer than 40 minutes. So this is with a pro account, but you can go an hour or longer, and you can also do it in increments of 15 minutes. So that's pretty cool. And then what time zone you're in. If I wanted to do this as a recurring meeting, just like I do with my Bariatric Business Boss, I select here and I say, do I want it to be a weekly meeting every 1 week on Tuesdays, and when I want it to end. I'm not going to do this one as a recurring meeting, so I'm going to not click that. You can require registration if you want to know who's coming to the webinar, or you want to be able to reach out to them afterwards. You want to make sure that you do have registration required. And then I usually have it generate my meeting ID automatically, and that is the only choice with a free account as well. So we want to generate it automatically. I don't typically require a password because it can be a barrier to people showing up. They might forget what that password was, and then they're like, oh, I shouldn't go to the webinar. So people can come up with lots of excuses. So I don't usually require a meeting password unless it's something really private that I want to have a password for. You can have your video automatically on or off, and the participants on or off. I usually leave the participant off, especially for large meetings or large webinars, just because it can be very distracting seeing what people in there, depending on what environment that they're in. I'll leave that at that because I'm sure you've seen some things on webinars too. Audio, I always do both because some people like to connect via their computer and other people like to connect via their telephone. I don't usually enable join before host because people can get into the meeting room and then they get confused as to why no one's there. So you can do it your own way though. I usually do mute people upon entry because it gets very distracting if you can hear other people. I don't usually use a waiting room, but it's another security measure that you can use. And then you can actually add additional authentication. And then if you want to record the meeting automatically, you can check that as well. You can have other hosts, but they do need to have a Zoom account. So, and usually a Zoom Pro account. So once I have that there, I just save the meeting and then it's going to show up. So even though it's not scheduled till May 12th, you do have to be careful because it will let you start that meeting right now. But if you go back into your meetings, it will actually show what did we just schedule. We webinar with Dr. Smith. Here's my meeting ID number, and we have all that here. If I want to change anything about it, I can change it. The one thing we didn't go over was how to send an invitation to people for this webinar. So if I was just going to post this on Facebook or send it in an email, you can actually copy this entire invitation, and then it'll copy to your clipboard, go into your emailers, and send it on out. Or if you just want to copy that URL, you can go ahead and just copy the URL portion of it, and you can go ahead and post that into your Facebook page, and you're all good to go with a description and some graphics, making sure you make it very enticing as to why people want to be there. So that's how you would actually send out your invitations, how you know what your meeting ID is, how you make edits, and it's really super simple. So that's when I'm doing something bigger with a lot of people. On my own calendar, I can add it to my Google Calendar, my Outlook or Yahoo Calendar, whatever you have right within here, I can add it onto my calendar, or you can have a calendar integration to be able to do that. So very simply, we've talked about how to sign up, how to use, how to schedule a meeting, and that's for like a webinar or any type of meeting. Like I say, you can do the same thing with just a meeting that you're having with a colleague, or like I do it with clients all the time. I just send them a link, I name the topic whatever I want, or I can use my private meeting room. And so if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to go ahead and host a meeting, and it's something that I'm going to do a little bit of a demonstration for. Before I do that, I'm going to open up a slide because I want to show you how to integrate some slides. All right, let me reduce that. Okay, so let's say I just want to go in and I'm going to host a meeting. I've given out my personal meeting ID and I want to host a meeting right now, and I will go ahead. I can do it with my video off, I can do it with my video on, or I can do just a screen share if I just wanted to show slides so nobody sees me. I'm going to show you just real quick what it looks like with video on so you can see how to navigate within a meeting. Once you click that, you're going to have to open it. The first time people use it, this is one of the disadvantages that some people think, although it's a very easy one, you do have to download Zoom one time, and then from then on, it's all good to go. So I'm going to open my Zoom meeting, and we are going to see that it is going to open up for us. And I'm going to go ahead and join with computer audio, enter full screen, and voila, we are here. I'm using the computer audio, as you can see, and I want to share a couple of things about this. So we are live here, and if I was in here and I had sent my meeting invitation to somebody, what would happen is they would come right in. If I didn't click that I had to enter them into the meeting from a waiting room or something like that, they would just pop in here, and then what would happen is if their video's on, we would be able to see each other either side by side or however we chose. There's actually a option up in the upper right corner. This sometimes confuses people, but you can choose however you want to view it. If you want to view just a gallery of everybody, if you want to just view the two of you, I record all my podcasts, everything in here. So I'm in full screen right now, and you can see down in the bottom left, it shows my name, and I could actually mute myself. And that's muted. So you could tell I muted myself. If I had a coughing jag or something like that, or some people when they're home, their dogs are barking or something, you can mute yourself. And I always have the participants muted for that very reason. If it's a large webinar, if it's a meeting, then that's a different thing. So you can mute yourself, and then you can also stop your video. If I stop my video, I will go ahead and show just my picture, and you can start it up whenever you want. And then we are live again. And the other thing is I can go ahead, I can see there's one participant right now. As participants add on, you want to see how many people are here, you can actually see that all the time. I can open up a chat if I'm doing a webinar, and when I open up the chat, it brings it up over on the right hand side, and I can say, hello, let me know where you are from. If it's a large group, I can go ahead and do that. It shows up to everyone. People can start saying where they're from. And as people have questions, you can always keep an eye on that. You can actually save and record your chat too if you want to keep that for later purposes. So your chat can be on or off. If you want to minimize it, you can minimize it as well. I can record this. I can either set it to automatically record when I start. If I'm doing an educational presentation or something like that, and I start to record, it will actually just record there. I can end up then with an MP4 for video and sound, or an MP3 with just sound, and it's great because it creates that automatically for you wherever you want to save it, either on your computer or on the cloud. So I can record. I don't really use reactions in presentations. It's just not a business thing that I like to use, so I don't really use that. But let's say I have some slides I want to share. So I'm going to do a presentation. Let's say it's a webinar. I'm going to share some slides, kind of like what we're doing today. So I'm going to share my screen, and you should have your PowerPoint already pulled up, or whatever presentation or screen or that you want to use, and I just click on that particular screen and I hit share. And then I can just go ahead and do my slideshow from the beginning, and you can see now that I have my slides up and I'm over in the corner. So a lot of people like to see a face with a presentation. It just adds a little bit of just some personalization to it. But some people don't like to be on camera. I'm in a different office right now. This isn't my usual surrounding, but I decided I'd go ahead. I think it's easier to go ahead and learn. And when I'm done and I don't want to share this anymore, I can actually just either stop my share down below, or I can just stop it by exiting out of my program. So I went ahead and stopped that. So it's pretty cool. And then when you're done with your meeting, you can just click end, and you can go ahead and end your meeting. And just so you know, when you're the host of the meeting, you can actually go in, and at any point you'll have lots of different options. There's actually some more options that you can get to. Once you have a bigger group, there's this little more, and what will happen is you can actually go in there and you can mute everybody, see what's going on, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting so you can see what's like. When I end meeting for all, it actually just ends the meeting. And then if I was recording, it would start to render it. So that's about it for that portion of it. So let's get back to our Zoom account. So what we've done so far is we started an account. I showed you how to schedule a meeting. When I go into my meetings, you can either just start whatever scheduled meetings that you have right over here when it's the right time. Like I say, when it's like Wednesdays for Barrier Business Boss, I just click start and I go ahead and we go live and everybody joins in. It's lots of fun. And you can get trainings anywhere. If I want to do a meeting on my own, I can do it on the fly right here. Or I could go ahead and I can go into my personal meeting room. This is how I can get my invitation, send that to someone, remember, copy it and send it to them in an email. If I want to be real formal about it, I'll actually schedule a meeting, and you can actually set up meeting templates. Mine, I'm pretty easy. I just create them on the fly. You can look at upcoming meetings, like I say, previous meetings that were held. In your personal meeting room, I can just start my personal meeting room at any point right here or up through this, up there where we had it. So that's pretty much the tutorial real quickly for you. There are other advanced things on how you can integrate this with Facebook Live. If you want to do something live and use your slides, you can do it lots of different ways. But like I say, if it's a meeting with one, a meeting with two, a meeting with many, a meeting with lots, whether it's just to go in there and record a quick video for educational purposes, or to record a quick video for your membership site, or something that you want to record and have evergreen on your website, the sky is the limit. So that's the quick demo. I hope that you found this helpful.
I am really excited about it, as you can tell. And the best practices, as I mentioned earlier, know your purpose. You can't just throw something out there and expect it to be successful. You have to have a marketing plan in place if it's for marketing purposes. If it's just for educational purposes, make sure that you're meeting the need of your ideal clients, your ideal patients. Do trial runs. You're always going to run into some sort of a snafu. So trial run ahead of time. Set up some test meetings, set up a test webinar, and go in and work through things. Invite people in your office, your family, anybody. Just do trial runs before you go live. It can help with a lot of headaches. The more you use it, the more comfortable you get. Review other people's webinars and ask for help. Reach out if there's help that you need. Keep your audience engaged. I know, having a live demo, it's even better when you can have some interaction, like on meetings and that sort of thing. But you do want to create, that's why I don't use just general PowerPoint slides. I try to keep people engaged. Be prepared for technical issues. Have somebody on the, especially if you're doing a large webinar, have somebody else who's listening in who can tell you, oh, hey, the sound went out. Oh, hey, we lost connection, anything like that. So have people on and be prepared for technical issues and how you're going to manage those. Have a plan for promotion. You can't just put something out there. You've got to put it out there numerous times. Remember, I talked about how often and when people are registering. If it doesn't show up in their inbox, at least 5 to 8 times, it needs to show up so that they can see it and they can opt into that. And make sure you have fun and be yourself. I mean, we all get worried about what do I look like on camera? How's my voice? That sort of thing. But do be yourself. People want to know the real you. And as a caveat, I know I do this in a lot of my trainings, people will tolerate a poor video, but they will not tolerate poor sound. So make sure you have a great microphone and make sure people can hear you. And then just a few do's and don'ts with regards to video. Best practices, ladies, don't wear a lot of jewelry. It ends up messing with the sound on it. If you're doing a video as well, make sure that you're pronouncing things well, that you're speaking into your microphone for the audio. And then for video, it's best if you wear plain colors. Don't wear busy patterns. It's distracting. And also, try to have a professional background. We're in a profession that requires professionalism. We don't want to be doing it where there's, you'll see people present and they've got laundry in the back or people walking around or their cat walking across their keyboard. So do make sure that you keep track of those sorts of things. Lighting is important. A professional background, making sure you're in a quiet location, that you don't hear a lot of excess noise, dogs barking, that sort of thing. You want to make sure it's in a professional environment and make sure you're not wearing a lot of jewelry, no real busy clothing, that sort of thing. So those are some of the best practices. Please reach out to me if you need help. I tried to keep to 30 minutes. I know we went over a bit on that, but reach out to me if I can be of additional assistance. I really want to thank you for your time. Here's how you reach me, Carol at weightlosspracticebuilder.com. The website, weightlosspracticebuilder.com, lots of different free resources. If you have not gone to HealthWise, to their website, they have a ton of free resources, so you want to go there as well. HealthWiseNRI.com. You can just search out HealthWise or Nutritional Resource Incorporated, that you'll get right to their website, but they have a ton of resources as well. If you're not a member of Bariatric Business Boss, it is such a no-brainer. Just join us. Go to bariatricbusinessboss.com and check it out. And at this point, we're going to take some questions. So if you want to put them in the chat, I'll look through the chat and answer questions that have come up, and then I will go ahead and answer those, and then we will be complete. So ask those questions.